Hello. I thought it was going to be a busy news week this week. I sincerely did. This is why I don't make predictions, although I probably will make some predictions in the next couple of weeks, or at least some recaps, maybe some look forwards to what's going on. There was still some news this week. It just wasn't the onslaught of news I expected, so maybe that's happening this week. This coming week. It didn't happen this week. It'll happen this coming week. We'll just have to wait and see. But either way, I'll be here every single week to help take you through the Portland startup news and what's going on around here. The big news story this week was an acquisition story, and it's an interesting acquisition story because it's not often that a Portland startup acquires another Portland startup, but that's exactly what happened when Portland startup Beginly Health acquired Portland startup ProviderJobs. Now, what do these two organizations do? They're both focused on the job market for clinicians and physicians in the healthcare world. So as I mentioned before, I started my startup career in digital health, so spent a lot of time working with both physicians and clinicians, so doctors and those types, as well as nurses and other hospital staff who are clinicians. So I'm super interested in this space. Healthcare is always a challenging, nuanced thing. So it totally makes sense that there were two separate pursuits locally that were focused on healthcare employment, and that they would eventually recognize that perhaps there was a benefit in them joining forces. And so that's exactly what's happened. Beginly Health takes over as the main brand. ProviderJobs founder Brian Forrester winds up as the chief product officer for Beginly Health, and they will be a much stronger startup for it. So of course, I'll keep an eye on them in the new year and keep you up to date on all the things that are going on there. I believe I got to see one of the Beginly Health co-founders down at the Launch Oregon event I went to this fall. And have been tracking on them and watching what's going on. I think Rogue Women is an investor in them, so definitely poised to do some interesting things in the next year. And I will keep an eye on the newly bigger and better Beginly Health. Do you use Carta? Not sponsored. I love Carta, and I love what founders are able to do with Carta in terms of managing shares and equity and cap tables and all those kind of things. Super valuable service. But the other nice thing about Carta is they have access to a whole bunch of data. And so what they wind up doing on a regular basis is writing reports, analyzing that data, providing insights into the startup community that we otherwise wouldn't be able to understand without the data that Carta has at their disposal. And so I'm a huge fan. I always keep an eye when they're putting out reports or when they're doing analysis or they're sharing graphs or what have you. This week, I caught two really interesting things from Carta. One was an analysis and report on solo founders and how being a solo founder has kind of changed drastically in this age of AI. About a decade ago at Pi, the startup accelerator I used to run, we ran an experiment with a cohort of solo founders to figure out what they needed and how that was different than typical startup teams that might have 2 or 3 people working on them. And we learned a lot, and it really informed how we delivered some of our programming and services. But that was a very different time. Being a solo founder back then was a different experience. These days, it seems like solo founders can move much further, much faster than they've ever been able to before, thanks to the assistance of AI. And this report from Carta on solo founders helps delve in to some of that stuff. The other one is on seed funding. So, they have access to all these cap tables and all that kind of thing. So, aggregated data, anonymized aggregated data allows them to see into what is happening in the industry in a really meaningful way. So if you are interested in raising seed funding and you want more insights into what's happening in the industry, I highly encourage you to register to grab that Carta seed funding report as well. But honestly, regardless of what you're doing, I think both of those reports are worth reading so you have a better understanding of what's happening in the startup ecosystem these days in the era of AI. Right, I know I bugged you a lot last week about pending deadlines, and I was trying to de-stress, but I might have stressed you out. I just want to remind you that Tuesday, December 16th, is Demolicious Champion of Champions. That means every person, every founder, every startup that won Demolicious throughout 2025, and one company won twice, will be coming to the stage to compete against one another to be named the big official champion of all champions for 2025 and to get the big title belt, to go home with the title belt. I mean, it's like an early holiday gift for them if they do well on their pitch. And if you show up and are in the audience to vote for whomever your favorite is, and maybe if your favorite gets all the votes, then they wind up getting that belt to take home. And maybe you can walk up to them and say, hey, I voted for you. I'm really happy you have that belt. And then maybe you'll get a photo with them in the belt. Maybe they'll let you wear the belt. I don't know. It's Demolicious Champion of Champions. You have to show up to figure out what's going to happen. But I can hear you saying, like, who's pitching? I don't even know what's going on. And should I go? Of course you should go. Let me tell you who the startups taking the stage will be. Are you ready? Okay, it's Base Jump AI, Carbon Negative Solutions, Dappled Tonic, Graze, Human.Global, Lack to Love, Sound Checked, Transcribit, VidiScribe, Votonic, Zingdrone Solutions, and Zilch. So those are the companies taking the stage. It's at the McMenamins Mission Theater, so you can go there. You can grab a beverage of your choice, maybe grab some food while you're hanging out. You know, McMenamins theaters are great for being entertained and eating at the same time. It's dinner theater. It's dinner theater is really what it is. Dinner theater with a sprinkle of startup stuff, if you will. I'm not a gourmand, not a culinary expert. But anyway, hope to see you there. Demolicious Champion of Champions. As I hinted at last week, if I have one laying around here, you know, I'll bring some stickers. I've got some stickers left. I'll bring some stickers. And if you want one, come see me. I'll probably hang out in the back. I usually stand around in the back and watch people pitch. But I'll be happy to give you a sticker. All you have to do is ask and, you know, maybe tell me more about what you're working on at your startup. Demolicious Champion of Champions. Grab a ticket, show up, hang out, vote, see who wins. It's as easy as that. It's your own startup-y kind of holiday party that you get to join in and participate in. Okay? Cool. See you at Demolicious Champion of Champions Tuesday, December 16th. That's not the only deadline I'm going to annoy you about. There's one that's even sooner, which is the Oregon AI Accelerator. Applications are due December 15th. But who should apply to the Oregon AI Accelerator, you ask? Well, there's a wide swath of companies that could potentially be accepted, so I encourage practically anyone to apply. Maybe you're building something and using AI to build it. Maybe you're building something that leverages AI and the features or functionality it delivers. Maybe you're behind the scenes doing machine learning, or maybe you're building a language model, large, small, or otherwise. Whatever the case, if you're working on a startup these days, it's highly probable that it touches AI in some particular way. So you may be eligible to participate in the Oregon AI Accelerator. And as I said a couple weeks ago, it's open to everybody around the world. But what I really want selfishly is a whole bunch of Oregon companies in there. They don't have to all be Portland companies. It would be nice if there were a few Portland companies in there. But I would love to see a whole entire cohort of only Oregon companies doing awesome things with AI. And since you are probably building one of those awesome Oregon AI companies, just get your application in. Use ChatGPT or Claude to help you write it, or some Gemini. The new Gemini model just came out. Use that to help you write it. Whatever the case, work on your application this weekend. Get it turned in before the 15th or on the 15th. They're due on the 15th. Please get your application in for Oregon AI Accelerator. I look forward to announcing your name as part of the upcoming cohort in 2026, the inaugural cohort of the Oregon AI Accelerator. One last push, and I'll quit pressuring you, but just know that what you're working on has merit. What you're working on has potential. And moving into the Oregon AI Accelerator could be that thing that launches it forward, that helps you achieve what you want to achieve with your startup. So why not take the risk and apply? Okay? Please get those applications in before December 15th. I look forward to seeing the brand new, spanking new 2026 cohort of the Oregon AI Accelerator. That's something in my eye. I'm sorry. Context, am I right? Ouch. Ow, 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 ow. Speaking of AI, OpenAI gave some people some money. OpenAI has the People First AI Fund, and they gave grants to a whole bunch of organizations. 4 Oregon organizations got capital from the OpenAI People First AI Fund. And I simply wanted to share the organizations that got that grant funding from OpenAI so that you were aware. The 4 Oregon orgs that got the funding are Citizens for a Community, College Dreams, One Media, and Oregon Entrepreneurs Network. Keep doing those conversations with startup founders. I released a few more this week with Ngramic and Chef AI. I've got a whole bunch more in the can. Been having a lot of great conversations, and while I love the conversations with new founders with new ideas who are launching things into the world, I've also had some really rewarding conversations with established founders who've been at it a while, serial founders who've done it multiple times. So like some interesting conversations coming up in the not too distant future as I release those, and I hope you'll stick around to listen to those. That's the Startup Stories with Silicon Florist. It's available as a separate podcast, so I don't gum up the works here in the news with my podcasty stuff, with my interview stuff, and it's also on YouTube as a separate playlist or podcast if you want to consume it that way. So I'm looking forward to much more of these conversations in the new year. I've got plenty lined up to release throughout December and probably most of January by this point. But if you are a founder who is interested in chatting with me, like you're like, I need help getting the word out about what I'm building, that's what this is for. I'm trying to share my platform as a promotional venue for you and your startup, and potentially inspire other founders or potential founders to kind of make that leap and start working on the thing they want to be working on. So please take a listen to Startup Stories with Silicon Florist, and if you feel so inclined, sign up for an interview, and I look forward to talking to you soon. All right. Now is the time when we do secrets, and I still have something in my eye. I don't know if I left that in the edit, but like I've been rubbing my eye the whole time. It's fine. I just want to talk with you for a sec. Thank you for staying. It's just you and me. You're the only one here. So this is the time when I kind of share secrets about what's going on. Sometimes I share the beverage I'm having. I'm having a lime bubbly right now, not sponsored, but I hope you're doing okay. It's in the crazy, my chair creaks. It's in the craziness of the holiday season. Still, again, I shouldn't have predicted that this would be a big news week, because then it was just quiet. But who knows? Maybe next week will be big. What did I do this week? Had a lot more, I already kind of mentioned, had a lot more interviews with folks. I'm really enjoying those conversations that go so quickly. Like I kind of want to stick around and talk with folks more, but I also understand that from a consumption standpoint, it's nice for you to have kind of a short form thing. So I will stick to that. I do need to get back to the long con. I hope to get back to that in 2026. The long con is my long format where I talk with people for like an hour or so. So it's a much more in-depth conversation, and it is truly a conversation. It's not question and answer kind of thing. It's like, I don't know where it's going. So it's just a random rambling conversation. I'll of course link that up if you're interested in listening to that. But so those conversations are going great. Another conversation I was pulled into is kind of, city of possibility, future of Portland conversation about specifically Harvey Milk from like Powell, from like sorry, my throat is now gone, from like Powell's down to the waterfront where Harvey Milk runs and Oak Street runs. They're just talking about what might be the potential of that neighborhood and things that could be done there. And I was lucky to participate in that conversation. And, of course, one of the elements that I always know about it, but I'm always interested when it comes up, is the Pittock block. And the Pittock block used to be, it may still be, the most expensive commercial real estate in the Portland metropolitan area. And people are like, why? It's just an old building. But here's why. Because in the basement of the Pittock block, and if I could find the thing that Cable Sasser of Panic wrote up about the Pittock block, I will link that up too, because Cable does these great deep dive pieces. I always love them. But basically in the basement of the Pittock block is a gigantic internet node, like where the cables come over the Pacific. I can't talk right now. Where the cables come over the Pacific, they land on shore, and then the first internet node is in the basement of the Pittock block. So ridiculously fast, blindingly fast internet speeds at the Pittock block because the fiber's right there, like all lit up and stuff. So that came up in conversation because obviously it's part of that region. There are a bunch of telcos that kind of have, what do they call those hotels, like data hotel, server hotel things all around there. But really interesting to just think about that. And, Expensify's down there. The Expensify, Midtown Beer Garden that they helped kind of rekindle, reboot is right there. So it's just an interesting part of town. Interesting conversation, great people in the room. I don't know. Just I'm excited to be part of that conversation and just kind of share some thoughts on what possibilities or potential are there. Just, one of many great conversations. I get to have some more great conversations next week that I'm really looking forward to, and hopefully we'll be able to tell you about at some point. Now they're a little hush-hush, but at some point I think will become more public. I love that I'm telling you secrets, but these are so secret that I can't even tell you on secrets. And then the big thing that made me really happy this week, and maybe I'll share like a little screenshot or a little element of it, is, in the off hours when I'm not working, I've been kind of mucking around vibe coding kind of a dashboard on top of CRM data that really what I'm looking for in 2026 is to be better and more proactive at making introductions for people. And so not just reactive when people come to me and ask me, hey, do you know anybody that does X, Y, or Z? I'm always happy to connect dots in that way. Or when people are like, do you have a resource? Do you know where this is? Who should I talk to? Like, I have those conversations all the time. But this is really designed more for me personally to kind of surface, like, have you talked to a lot of people recently? Have you made intros recently? Who should you intro when somebody asks for this kind of information? Who are people in your network who should be introduced but don't know one another? And so I've been mucking around on a little side project with that. And again, just for me, it's not a product that I will release, but it's been really fun kind of figuring out how to vibe code it. And because I'm obviously not a good enough developer to deal with real code, but and just I think it's good having the experience engaging with AI to learn about how it goes about doing things and where I run into trouble and all that kind of thing. So stay tuned, just building that out. But I'm not doing another startup. So, not right now. So working on that. Might have more to share about that in the future. Look, I've kept you long enough. Hopefully you're, either listening to this while you're taking some downtime or maybe while you're out and about getting some shopping done. I hope you're hanging in there. And until we get the chance to chat again, please keep up the good work.